Hello, we're here to reveal your Premier League striker of the season. Matt, there's probably three leading candidates here, the top three scorers in the league, Aguero, Vardy and Kane. Who gets your pick?
I think you'd have to go Kane, aren't you, in this one? Obviously, they're very close up there. Aguero as well. It's funny, Aguero, he's had spells where he's not really looked his best, has he? But then he pops up with a couple of goals the next week and then he'll score again the next week. And he's obviously for me, he's the best striker in the league on talent, Aguero. But Jamie Vardy is just ridiculous, isn't it? It's almost, there's no really way to explain what's happened with him over the last season as well. He was pretty average as well. He had sort of spells, but this season he's been unbelievable. Obviously, he inspired Leicester with a couple of other players to the title. But Harry Kane as well, I just think the start of the season as well, there's question marks over him, wasn't he? Because he had a poor start to the season, didn't score for a while, and people were saying, oh, he's a one-season wonder. But he's inspired Tottenham to their title challenge. Obviously, ultimately fell short. But it's good news for England as well that those two obviously doing well. But for me, the striker of the season would have to be Harry Kane.
Yeah, I think it was no goals in his first 9 or one in his first 13 or something like that. Really slow start to the season, but he really has put those one-season wonder claims to bed, hasn't he?
Definitely has. Yeah. I mean, Kane would be my pick as well. I think obviously it's great to see, like Matt said, 2 England strikers there. But I think Kane just as a more rounded striker. I think he's been fantastic. He seems to be, Roy Hodgson's number one choice for England now as well. I mean, I'd be really surprised if, say, Vardy starts ahead of him at Euro 2016. I think Kane, just some of the goals he scored as well, like just such good finishes, and the one against Arsenal in the North London derby, I think that was my pick for goal of the season. Just the timing of that, and just where it came out from nowhere. The one against Liverpool, that turn and shot into the corner, some really memorable goals. I mean, Vardy has as well. I mean, the thing with Aguero, I think the overriding factor for us, like looking at him this season with Aguero, is just how much he disappoints in the Champions League. I mean, I know this is the Premier League award, but I think for him to be, when he's on form in the Premier League, pretty much unplayable with his feet and his finishing, but for him not to deliver in the Champions League, I think on the whole for him this season, that's been a disappointing moment. But in the Premier League, he's been as good as ever. He's had a few games out injured, and he's still right up there in the scoring charts.
That's the thing with Aguero. I think if he had one full campaign without any injuries, it's quite mad he's never been player of the season, because I agree with you. I think he probably is the best player in the Premier League on talent. If he had a full season, just staying fit the whole campaign, I think he would fire Manchester City to the title. He's that good a player. He's that big a difference maker. This season, though, I agree. I think I put him third behind Vardy and Kane. Kane for me, he would be my choice as well. I've been so impressed by him, because I was doubtful about how good he really was. I thought he might have one season, his first campaign, but at such a young age, he's joined a few elite clubs to score 20 goals in back-to-back Premier League seasons, in his only 2 Premier League seasons as well. I think he's got a really bright future, and you mentioned some of the goals he scored there, really well-rounded. The one against Liverpool really impressed me, just such a clinical finish. Vardy probably find himself next season in a similar position to Kane this season, in terms of people are going to see, can he do it again? He's had, as you mentioned, just a fairy tale campaign. It's been unbelievable what he's done this season, and the spearhead of that Leicester, really the main talking point of that whole Leicester story. So all of them had fantastic seasons. Anyone else on the list for you there, Matt?
Yeah, Anthony Martial, would be nice to see him, I think, sneak into the top of the list, because obviously he came in, he's a 20-year-old man, he's coming for big money. There's a lot of question marks over his talent. Obviously at Monaco, his goal scoring record wasn't the best, but to come in and he did himself to the fans with that goal against Liverpool, didn't he? The fantastic finish where he sort of showed lovely feet, and he's got 11 Premier League goals this season, 2 of which came at West Ham, penultimate game of the season, and he's been their shining light in the final third in a poor United team going forward. Certainly, I think it's the least amount of goals in the Premier League. They're going into this. I think Sunderland have now scored more goals than them in the Premier League, which is saying something. And he's been a shining light. I wouldn't obviously put him up there with Kane and Vardy, but I think next season as well. And Lukaku's had a really good season, but I think he's 8 or 9. I think it's 9 games now without a goal in Cup and Premier League. So surprising. Jermaine Defoe as well, obviously 15 Premier League goals. I think he should go to the Euros personally. I think he's a fantastic player. But yeah, the top 3 for me would be Aguero, Vardy, Kane.
Yeah, just a word on Defoe from you, Pascal. He's probably been the man who's kept Sunderland in the division. How big has he been for them?
Just huge. The amount of goals, especially away from home. I think obviously he's about 15 goals he's got, and I think over 10 of those have come away from home. Just those key goals he scores away from the stadium, because they've really kept Sunderland up. I mean, just what Matt was saying about Lukaku. I think what we're talking about Ozil, he drifted away a lot in the second half of the season. Lukaku's done exactly the same. It's been a shocking season on the whole for Everton, but at least they were sort of doing good things in the first half of the campaign. We're just hearing that Martinez looks like he's been sacked, so it's really gone off for them, and Lukaku's been a part of that. Most games now, he doesn't look like he's on his game at all, and considering when he's completely on form, he's almost unplayable. He's got good feet, great finishing, obviously huge man, he's very, very strong, and him to tail away like that, it's been disappointing. But yeah, I'd highlight Defoe as certainly one to pick out, been a very, very good player.
And like Lukaku, Watford have tailed off really towards the second half of the campaign. Dini and Ighalo weren't many better strike partnerships in the first half of the campaign. I think there was a stat fairly early on in the campaign where they had created more chances for each other than anyone else. Usually Dini creating the chances for Ighalo, but Ighalo's gone off the ball a bit. Dini never really a prolific scorer in the Premier League, but he always did his bit. They're both on the list. What do you make of that?
I think especially Igalo's an interesting one for me. Obviously, watching him in Spain for Granada, he was never really a prolific goal scorer or a player that particularly stood out. You thought he could come to the Premier League and score goals, but he done that. He came in. I think where it started to go a little bit wrong for him was where the transfer speculation came in. You know, teams interested in him. I remember Watford played away to Manchester United, and he had 6 or 7 very good opportunities, missed them all, didn't really want to feed Deeney, and you wonder whether it got in his head about the transfer. Deeney as well, obviously, Pascal knows more than me, obviously watching him at Championship level, but he's obviously had a very good scoring record there. Was question marks whether he could do that, but now people possibly mention him for England, so he's had a very good season as well for Watford, who have had a good season as well.
I think we're all agreed on the top 3. Matt, do you want to reveal the results?
Right, so in third place, which I'm pleased about, is Anthony Martial with 10%, which is very pleasing to see. No real surprise. It's a surprise Kane's up there, but Kane's actually in second place with 23%, and Jamie Vardy with a massive 57% of the votes takes it.
That's a huge difference between Kane and Vardy.
Huge, yeah. I mean, Vardy, a deserved winner without a doubt. Just some of the goals he scored and just how key he's been for Leicester. Obviously, the scoring, we haven't even talked about that scoring run he went on, Premier League record, all those games he scored in a row. That was an amazing feat for him to do that for a team like Leicester. And a player like Vardy, I mean, enough's been written and said about his rise up from the non-leagues and all that, but it's still incredible what he's done, as well as Leicester as a team. And a deserved winner, yeah. I mean, obviously, I would have had Kane in first place, but yeah, a bit of a shocker. I think Martial's got in there a third ahead of Aguero, but there you go.
Yeah, I think Vardy really encapsulates Leicester, doesn't he? Without him leading the line, that energy up front, and just a clinical edge we didn't really know he had. I think it was 5 goals he got last season. You mentioned his last season form earlier. 5 goals compared to 24 at the time of filming this season. It's just an unbelievable improvement from him. Martial in third, I don't agree with. I can't see how Aguero's got less than 10% of the votes, but what do you think of Martial?
Oh, I'm a massive fan. You know, all season he's been fabulous. I understand the argument for the fact that you're surprised that he is in there because maybe above the other players. But I think when you're thinking about it, obviously we all think Kane should be first, but Vardy, I think he's obviously the popular choice because he allows people to dream, doesn't he? Young players that are in non-league football and not sure whether they're going to make it. I think Vardy almost quit, didn't he? A couple of times, almost quit the professional game, and now he's winning the league with Leicester, and it's just ridiculous. So I'm not that surprised to see that. But top 3, I'm pleased Martial's in there. I'm not going to lie. And the top 2, I would say is probably about right. Yeah.
So Jamie Vardy, as expected, is your striker of the season.